Let the words of my mouth and the meditations on all of our hearts be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, for you are our strength and our Redeemer. And this is the day that the Lord has made, so let us rejoice and be glad in it. Amen?
Amen.
I want to thank you, Reverend John and St. Jude's, for allowing me to speak here again. It's been a minute. But it's good to be back home. Now, my definition of home is this. Home is where one can go and exhale. Home is where there are people who love you for who you are, warts and all, and who you are becoming. Home is where there are people who know all about you and love you anyway. Home is where you do not have to be perfect, but present. Home is not a building. Home is the people. And not just the people here today, but the people who were there on 5th and Castle when I walked through the door about 25 years ago now. And I haven't aged a bit. And it's about all the people who've come and gone in those years since. You see, St. Jude's has always been a haven for those who needed rest. It's been a safe haven for those who are seeking, for those who are hurting, for those who may just need a little rest. Some people stayed for a minute, some people stayed for a time, and some of us have remained. And even though I live miles and hours away from this place now, it's the people that live in my heart and soul wherever I go. It's the people of St. Jude's that will always hold a very special place in my heart. That's why this is home. You see, I grew up here, not from a child to an adult, but the kind of growing up that builds who you are. The kind of growing up that has ups and downs, mistakes and successes, joys and sorrows. The kind of growing up that nurtures your soul. You see, our souls are a huge part of who we are. And our souls need tending, just like a garden needs tending. Because if we don't pay attention to our gardens, they will be overtaken by weeds and the bounty will be difficult to retrieve or even see. And the same thing will happen to our soul. If we do not nurture our soul, if we do not tend to our soul, it will sit quietly by while we fill our day with all that we can cram into it. And our soul becomes empty, and we feel lost, even in the busyness of life. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems that we are always busy. Our schedules are full. There are work demands. There are family demands. We tackle more projects. We sign up for more committees. We take on more responsibilities, all the while trying to get everything done in the days and weeks that we have. We're trying to please everyone at the same time while we are putting our own needs at the end of the line. Yes, we are always busy. And if we do get a free moment, we crash on the couch and we watch the latest show just to get a moment of peace away from the demands of our lives. Does that sound familiar? So I want to ask a couple of questions this morning. How are you? How are you really? How is your soul? Are you one of those people with a full plate, always running from one thing to another? Or maybe you're a caregiver for a parent or a partner or a friend, and you are physically exhausted, not to mention that your soul is also tired. Are you struggling this morning Are you tired of running the rat race? Are you tired of running from something? Or are you just tired? Or maybe you're putting on a brave face to the world while you are secretly dying on the inside, hoping that no one will see through your facade. Wherever you are on your journey this morning, perhaps we all need reminding that our souls need tending. The German theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer wrote, "Hey you, human being, you have a soul. See that you don't lose it, that you don't wake up one day from the frenzy of life, professional and private life, and see that you have become hollow inside, a plaything of events, a leaf driven back and forth and blown away by the wind, that you are without a soul. Human being, pay attention to your soul." We need to pay attention to our soul. So what do you do to nurture your soul? What do you do to pay attention to your soul? Paying attention to our soul requires spending some time with God. Now that may mean that we have to be uncomfortable sometimes. It may mean that we have to step out of our box sometimes. It may mean that we sit quietly for several minutes at a time and only focus on the goodness of God. Paying attention to our soul may be a reminder that we need to breathe, to pause, to feel, to look for God in the everyday, to cry, to laugh, to sing, to be present in the moment, and to pray. This morning, maybe you, like me, needed to hear and understand once more that if we neglect our soul, we lose touch with it. This morning, maybe you, like me, needed a reminder that we are a work in progress and that God isn't finished with us yet. Amen? Amen. Maybe you, like me, needed to be reminded that it's okay to be human, that we are not going to do this thing called life perfectly. Maybe you, like me, need to take Jesus up on the offer more often. When Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." You see, when our lives get crazy and we're trying to do everything right, when we're in the depths of sorrow or the heaviness of our burdens, in the darkest of night, when we are wrestling with our thoughts, let us remember that Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy burdened. You will find rest for your souls." And I'm guessing that there are some here this morning who needed to hear that. I know I did. I need to hear more than once every Sunday that I can take my burdens and lay them at Jesus' feet. I need to know that it is there that we can find rest. You see, life distracts us. We get caught up in our own stuff. And before we know it, our souls are depleted and we feel far from God. But tending to our souls, spending time with God, seeing God in the everyday, being intentional with our relationship with God, however it is that you do that, that is tending to our souls. That is keeping God close. Because when we feel far from God, it isn't God that moved. In closing, I want to tell you about a man named Horatio Spafford. Spafford was a successful businessman in Chicago in the 1870s. He was a devout Christian who placed his faith and trust in God through the successes that he had and also through the sorrows that he had. He was a prominent lawyer, and he also owned several properties throughout Chicago. He and his beloved wife had 4 beautiful daughters and 1 son, and life was really good. It was very blessed. But faith, no matter how great it is, does not spare us from adversity. At the top of his successes, they lost their son tragically. And not long after that, the Great Chicago Fire destroyed a lot of his properties. So a few years later, in 1873, Horatio decided to treat his wife and daughters to a much-needed escape from the turmoil of their lives. So he sent them on a boat trip to Europe, with plans to join them shortly after. However, a few days later, he received a telegram from his wife that read, "Saved alone." The ship had wrecked at sea, and all 4 of their daughters had perished. Horatio was on his way to meet his heartbroken wife, passing over the same sea that had just claimed the lives of his remaining children. And it was then that he put his pen to paper, and the timeless hymn that we know was born. He wrote, "When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul." You see, having faith and believing in God does not spare us from difficult times. It does not keep us from experiencing the difficulties that can occur in life, whether they are of our own making or not. But tending to our souls can make it somewhat bearable. My friends, we live in tough times, but God is tougher. We may lose ourselves or we may lose our way, but God never loses us. You see, life is going to happen. There are going to be joys and sorrows. There's going to be bounty and there's going to be famine. So let us be better at tending to our souls so that we too may have the courage to say, whatever our lot, thou hast taught us to say, it is well with our soul. So let it be so, my friends. Let it be so. Amen. Amen. Now let us take just a moment of silence and allow God to speak to us. Amen.